In the modern era of video games, consoles are essentially compact PCs. It's sometimes easy to overlook or even forget where this all started. For those of you like me who grew up in the early 90s, we witnessed the evolution of gaming as a whole, from a few blurry squares on screen to up to some games being on par with something you'd see in the cinema. And it all started with big, heavy chunks of plastic. Lots and lots of plastic. Growing up, the Sega Genesis and the Sega Saturn were just machines that played games, nothing else. But that's all they really needed to be. They called themselves entertainment machines, but multimedia interaction wouldn't really take place until much later with disc-based consoles like the PlayStation 2 doubling as a DVD player. This is also one of the main reasons that it is, still, even today, the best-selling console of all time. There aren't many 1-second long sounds that can activate my millennial sleeper agent brain as well as Sega can. And it's with this warm and welcoming nostalgia that I set out to put my love for retro video gaming into a physical form. The whole arcade ecosystem is hard to replicate, but wacky carpet patterns, scam claw machines, and ticket dispensers aside, there's something so tactile and satisfying about standing in front of a game that's simple and quick to play and moving on to the next totally different experience. Most of the time you'd get your ass whooped after dumping quarters into the Mortal Kombat machine, but it was awesome. You lived and died by the token, all for the chance to input ass as your initials on the high score leaderboard. Keeping this in mind, and with my newfound skill of 3D printing, I thought, fuck it, let's relive those days. How hard could it be? And after looking online for a full 3D printed arcade machine, there was none. I wanted to build something that could play anything, whether it uses a light gun, a trackball, or anything like that. So I set out to create the ultimate arcade machine. I had a few rules for myself. I wanted to include all kinds of controls, so normal joystick and buttons, trackball, light gun, pedals, the usual stuff. Maybe somewhere down the line I'll add some of those metal handles from that Uncle Fester arcade machine. I wanted it to have a coin door because, well, everybody loves a coin door. I want to have it be able to emulate everything up to and including PS3 games. Now, because I'm a drooling, knuckle-scraping moron, I can't model worth shit. So, after spending about 500 hours watching Blender tutorials and pulling most of my already receding hairline out, I came up with this model. First, I designed the buttons as a completely square panel and then added some shape to it later. After ordering a coin door, I then designed a frame for it and a box for the coins to drop into. While designing this thing, I had to keep in mind that 3D printing isn't exactly built Ford tough, so I had to add inch-wide holes for dowel rods. Basically, I wanted to minimize the amount of metal I'd have to play with, and I really don't trust that just some 20mm PLA would be able to keep everything in place. Speaking of, I guess I should explain how I made it in basic terms. So, once a print is done on my printer, I take it and I literally melt the pieces together as if they were one solid piece of plastic. Here's an example of me doing it to one of the cabinet doors. Also, side note, I went through this whole project, probably around 200 hours or so, using this soldering pen without burning myself even once with the soldering pen until I was on the last, literally the last thing that I needed to solder, which was this cabinet door. There it is, there's me shoving it right into my knee. Here's what that looked like, by the way. So essentially, I did that, but over the course of 6 months. I started this project on April 1st, and it is now December. Funnily enough, I adopted a 1-month-old kitten on the same day I started this. Here's what he looked like when I got him. Here's what he looks like now that the project is over. His name is Cheeseburger, and he is a bastard. It took around 4 months for everything to be printed out. I'm going to mention something that nobody really tells you when you get into 3D printing, especially with bigger models. You're going to need to do a lot of sanding. Like, imagine the amount of sanding that you think you would do, and triple that. And then double that number. There is so much goddamn sanding. So basically, I would sand it, fill all the holes with spackling, and then sand it again. And then I would fill the holes again with spackling, and then I would sand that again. Over and over and over. This went on for a few months, and then I blasted this motherfucker with lots and lots of filler primer. And when that was done, I coated it in a matte black automotive paint. This process went on for quite a while and was what most of the work consisted of, since the printing part is mostly just waiting. About 850 hours or so. Now, a big question that came up before I started this was storage. You know, there's a lot of older games, thousands upon thousands of older games. How would I store them all? And storage isn't really an issue until you get to the disc-based consoles. PS1 discs go up to 660 megabytes, for example, so having a complete collection isn't really feasible. Storage options are there, but to hold every PS1 game and PS2 game in one place would be ridiculously expensive, especially if you're going with solid-state drives. A quick Google search tells me that every PS1 game together is 4.5 terabytes, and every PS2 game together is 23 terabytes, so yeah. As much as I love the Sega Saturn and the Dreamcast, I'm gonna have to go with the greatest hits, unfortunately. I mean, hell, even the complete Nintendo DS collection is around 80 gigs. I will say, though, I do find it rather impressive how small the games of the 80s and 90s really were. The creativity of what minuscule space they had to work with is truly impressive to me. Also, side note, I got curious and looked up what the biggest game by file size is as of 2025, and apparently Ark Survival Evolved with every DLC pack installed is 435 gigabytes. Another invaluable asset to me was Screenscraper. Screenscraper is a French website where people from all over the world collaborate to archive box art, game manuals, disc and cartridge images, and everything related to older games in a downloadable format. This makes your arcade system look super legit. From a preservation perspective, this is invaluable. As for the parts inside, I feel like I must put this out there. I'm not sponsored by any of these brands. But hey, unless any of these brands want to throw me a fucking bone, you know where to find me. As for the buttons, I bought all my parts from FocusAttack.com. Again, not sponsored, but they had pretty much everything I needed. The buttons, the joysticks, even some neat joystick toppers. The vinyl wrapping I designed in a program called Krita and then uploaded to Game On Graphics. The computer itself is just a basic Windows 11 computer, and here's the parts on screen. As for pricing, let's see, I had to buy sandpaper, 6 cans of filler primer, 12 cans of Rust-Oleum spray paint, a little grippy thing for my spray paint, spackling, a power strip, external power button, USB 3.0 hub, USB extension panel, all my buttons, my 2 joysticks, a groan tube. This had nothing to do with the cabinet, but I just thought it was funny. I bought some extra arcade ball tops because they were cute, 2 USB foot pedals, a USB Wi-Fi adapter, a trackball, a volume knob, 2 cup holders, 2 controller boards to power the joysticks and buttons, a coin door, speakers, the monitor, wooden boards for the side panels, the vinyl wraps, 2 Sinden light guns and their holders, the CPU, the GPU, the motherboard, the storage, the power supply, and the RAM. I know RAM prices are fucking outrageous right now, so keep in mind that I bought this stuff in May of 2025. Also, side note, fuck AI, and fuck anyone who uses it to generate music or art. You're a bitch, and a loser, and an asshole. No, and I almost forgot. All of the PLA plastic I used to print it. So that brings me to $2,412 in total. Yikes. And I bet you're thinking, why? Now, because my dad didn't work at Blizzard and my home isn't full of ferrets, I care very, very deeply about game preservation. I think it's totally fucking stinky what companies are doing now, especially with requiring online play to play a single-player game. With live service games, I kind of understand, like, if they're going to be drip-feeding you content over a period of time that can't feasibly last forever, you know, I get it, but I still feel a profound sense of sadness over games like Overwatch 1 or The Crew. Some games like Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas get delisted because of a remake or a remaster, and we all know how that GTA remaster was. The point is, those older versions are gone, so either find yourself a 25-year-old game console or fuck off. Remember PT? One of the greatest horror experiences in video game format? Gone. I know the reason it got pulled and all is because of Konami's bureaucratic bullshit and rights management and all that, but that's not really the point of this. One of the coolest games I had on my phone a while ago was called World Flipper, a pixel art pinball gacha game. The art was beautiful, the OST was great, and it actually had a pretty decent story, but now, completely gone, offline, dead. This is what I don't understand about anyone not agreeing with the Stop Killing Games movement. There's no reason I could possibly think of that I shouldn't be able to play World Flipper now, offline. Companies like Nintendo will cry, "Oh, we're losing so much money, oh, fuck off." That money isn't yours. If Nintendo would put Pokemon Sapphire on the Switch too, I would buy that shit day one. But they don't. And if you've seen prices for GBA carts, especially Pokemon carts, you'd see what I'm getting at. Not only is the used games market completely fucking absurd with the price gouging, but these companies fail to realize that our money isn't part of the equation anymore. It's going to some fuckface selling LSD Dream Emulator for $400 at a convention. These games were made 20, 30, sometimes even 40 or 50 years ago by teams of people on archaic and primitive hardware. It wasn't easy, it was super hard, and the game they got to put out was the final version. If it wasn't done, well, too fucking bad. You had to put out a complete game because, until relatively recently, games couldn't just be updated. There was no internet connection. It's truly a testament to companies like Sega and Namco who made legendary games that still stand up today. Games like Dig Dug and Pac-Man are so simple, but still, 40, 50 years later, they're still getting represented in stuff like Super Smash Bros. People still care about them. And don't get me wrong, there's tons and tons of complete bottom-of-the-barrel dog shit too. E.T. for the Atari almost caused video games as a whole to collapse, but it's still history. It still deserves to be played. The fact that a few squares on the screen can represent an alien from the 70s must have looked mind-blowing to those people. Look, am I ever gonna play John Madden NFL 92? Fuck no. But does John Madden NFL 92 deserve to be remembered, recognized, and preserved? Fuck yes. As for this arcade machine, would I do it again? Probably not. I really recommend just buying an empty wooden shell or just making one on your own. The cost will be cheaper and will take about 500 hours less, but do I regret it? No. Also, a little while after this goes up, I'll be streaming arcade games on Twitch, and all donations will go to my local cat cafe to get some little babies adopted, so feel free to stop by. As for me, I'm gonna go play some House of the Dead. Happy holidays, everyone.